Hi, I'm Carol Butler, and welcome to a newly developed channel where you're going to see things very different, and you hopefully will engage with me in your own creativity. I'm going to show you many creative things, what I do, some behind the scenes, from video to philosophies in life. And every time you come here, you're going to feel better, or that's my intention. You're not alone. You're never alone. And I'm going to show you this just to whet your appetite. I'm going to help you be creative. I know I have more than I can work with. I think I can almost do everything. Used to be able to dance. Um, I've never been able to sing, but I sing by myself, so it doesn't matter. But we're all on a path, and this path is beautiful. The path that you're on. Yes, we have some bumps in the road. We all have tragedy. This life is short. We lose people we love, but your path is beautiful. And no matter when you stray, and we all do, I call it taking a detour. And the only thing that happens is the detour takes a little bit more of your time, but you end up right back on the path that you were destined to be on anyway. I'm going to show you with some of the things I do how you too can feel great about yourself and feel extraordinarily creative. Love is all around us. You just have to look. No one lives in a vacuum. I know we sometimes feel that way. There's a big difference between being lonely and being alone. I think being alone helps you get your mind together. So, and if you're lonely, it makes you reach out. And I'm reaching out to everyone who's ever felt like what they did didn't matter, who they are doesn't count. You have no idea what a gift you are to this universe. And I have to emphasize when I talk about lonely and alone, you're never alone. You can feel lonely, but you're never alone. You've always got someone. Nobody exists without being in relationship to something else. That's why that tree, if you don't hear it and it falls in the forest, it never lived. Something has to be observed. You have to be yourself. You have to start. I have to. I have to live who I am. I have no other way to live but doing that. And I'm going to invite you to follow me and watch some of the things that I have done. I'm going to begin introducing me this way. I have spent months, not kidding, and I'm fast, but I've spent months writing not the writing part. That's what didn't take a long time, frankly, but because I couldn't do real interviews for lack of Ethernet power for some time, I've entertained myself as a writer. I'm a playwright too. I've entertained myself writing scripts and interviews with inanimate objects. If you follow me, and I'm going to repost them up here too. I interviewed the crash test dummy, just to give you an idea of what I'm talking about. I had a character I made up, and this is more an audio podcast that I'm going to tell you about than a video. I had Baba, anyway, a woman other than myself. I called it the Baba interviews. And she interviewed, meaning I wrote an interview about interviewing the invisible woman. But what's taken me months, and I've waited, I didn't know how difficult it was. I think most of the things that if we start to do, if we knew every problem that we'd face, we'd never get started on anything. But I was trying to think, what would be funny? Here's my process. What would be a funny interview? And I thought, well, what, after you've done The Invisible Woman, and I did do another short interview with the Baba person, with a man who got interviewed because he taught his pigeons how to play the drum. Very short entertainment, makes you laugh or smirk. or go, "What?" But this one, I thought, "Gee, I'll be educational and informative, and I'm gonna interview a Brazil nut." And then I thought, "I can't just interview one nut." And I thought, "How many nuts are there that are edible?" And I came up with 20, and thank God I didn't pick all 20 to interview. But it required a lot of research on pecans and almonds, and then I'm not going to suddenly learn animation and make them cartoons for my purposes. I'm a writer, but I do like a visual because I don't want you to imagine my Mr. Brazil, and I wanted it to look like it was in an interviewing space, and I wanted to talk about using AI, artificial intelligence, and I used artificial intelligence to help me design just the background of a studio where I could put each of however many nuts I was gonna interview in a chair, and the back of my head would be on the right side of the screen, and the nut, whoever I'm interviewing, would be in front of me, and I'd need them in a chair, and as we all know, nuts don't have legs, so I needed to give them legs. I did do that, and it just makes them more interesting. I did a lot of research. I've got pages. I'm very thorough because I don't want to say something about a nut that isn't true. Children may be watching. And anyway, I wanted it to be helpful to you too. My next step, as I started gathering all this fascinating information about just one, almonds and macadamias. Did you know a macadamia nut is probably the rarest nut on the planet? And that's why it's so expensive, because only 1% of all the tree nuts, seeds, whatever we want to call them at the time, are macadamias. So they're very hard to get a hold of. So I knew I had to make it a sassy woman. And then where was I going to find all the voices for all these nuts? I mean, I'm not a ventriloquist. I can't project a deep male voice. And anyway, why should I? And I'm not going to hire 10 people or however many, I think maybe 9 nuts I interviewed. So I had to go to some voice software. So, how do I coordinate? Just think about it for a minute. Me with a nut who's not alive, inanimate, bringing their voice, as it were, to something that sounded like they'd be interacting with me. The second step, as I started to write it, was I've got to have these nuts in front of me so that I can start to give them a little personality and some legs to sit on the studio picture of a studio I've designed. So we're talking about me not doing a video, not doing just an audio, me doing a hybrid where I've got the audio, but I don't really have the video, although you may feel different. It's the essence of video. So I went to a place called Earth Fair, and I know they really thought I was nuts when I said I felt guilty because I just needed 1 or 2 nuts. And I'm going to show you the pictures that I took gathering these nuts, and then they look kind of, as I'm at the checkout, I tried to at least buy 3 nuts in case I break one or it falls off the chair, right? I said I'd be glad to pay for a whole bag of something just to get, like, 15 of these nuts, but they rang them up separately in little baggies, my 4 macadamia, and anyway, then I decided they needed eyes, because how can you converse with something that appears that they're not looking at you? So you'd be surprised how many people couldn't instruct me where to get wiggly eyes, the kind of things you see on stuffed animals. I wanted to put little wiggly eyes on all the nuts to give them a little personality. And then I did finally find someone at a store. Have you ever tried to glue wiggly eyes onto a nut? Yes, I might have gone again, animation, but no, I wanted realistic, realistic wiggly eyes on all of them. So that took like a day or 2 for the glue to dry. So I've got all my nuts in a row. I've got wiggly eyes on all of them. And then it was a matter of going through my editing software, which I'm just now taking an academy to learn how to use. I've struggled with Descript. It's a new video editing tool. And this entire thing was made up until the last end of it using Descript and Descript's stock voices that I assigned to each nut. So I hope this is getting interesting enough for you to want to see my creation, and having the background before you see it might make you, I hope, appreciate it more. I could not teach myself fast enough. I could have done this really fast in the editing software that I'm accustomed to using for years, but I think Descript is the future. It offers so many things. I'm doing a plug for them. Although I'm still not saying that I'm well versed with them, I'm still learning. But they gave me the voices I needed, and the editing is supposed to be easier for people that's never used the timeline. And those of us who have used the timeline in editing will have found this to be like a brain twist. I can't use it like I've always used the timeline, so that's probably what most of the delay was. And at any rate, I finished it the night before last. I'm going to show some of the photos in this presentation that I'm giving basically before I give you a link to watch it, because I'm not going to have this butt right in and make you watch it or have you go, oh, good grief, how long is she going to talk? But I think it's interesting as an artist, where do you start? And I've always been asked that. So I've told you maybe the physicality of how I started. The concept was I just thought it would be funny. And I thought of nuts because it sounded because I was thinking, what a nutty thing to do. And I thought, yes, nuts. But how do you go about it without just having paper nuts? And so I didn't. So I added a little bit of realism, but it's a hybrid, and I've never seen this. And so when I say I'm creative, I'm not going to back up. I'm wearing my Ecamm Live creator shirt because I am a creator. I do live. There's no way I could do this one live, I don't think, and put in all the little tidbits. But I am an associative person as a writer. I get a concept, and other people work so differently. Our processes being creative, yours too, to write a story. I've got a friend that's, I don't know where to begin. And as a playwright, short playwright, not in height, in length, uh, you start in the middle. Get in the middle of something that's happening, some kind of action. I'm not going to teach you how to write a play, but that's where you start. And I had the concept of interviewing inanimate objects. I had fun with this. It took me months to do, trying to figure out new equipment. The writing took a while. Writing's not, I never think of it as work. It's always a labor of love for me. A lot of people don't like to do it, but that's my creative button and trigger, is something fun. And this is fun and educational. So I'm going to tack on some of the original pictures of my nuts. And oh, that sounds interesting. That I interviewed Mr. Brazil and almond, and let's see, macadamia and pecan, and you'll see what his name really is. And hope you watch it, enjoy it, and maybe get back with me about asking any questions about, I want to do something like that, or I could never do something like that, but I bet I could do this. This is a whole new world with being able to interact with people that aren't in your hometown. And everyone has said this to me as I'm wrapping this up. I am wrapping up. Carol, I can't be on camera with you in 2016. I can't be on camera. I'll just stutter. And I said, so what? When you're talking to other people, don't you stutter? Don't you leave off not finishing a sentence? Well, I don't look good on camera. I said, well, when you go to the grocery store, what do you look like? You look like this? I do. I look like this wherever I go. Sometimes better, sometimes worse. But you're out there in front of people anyway. You're not thinking, oh God, they're going to think I don't look good in the grocery store. I'm at the bank. So on camera, get your mind off yourself. Just get your mind off yourself. This is how and I have a course on confidence too, but that's a different kind of creative help. So I'm going to show you some of the pictures, maybe put a little music behind this, and then give you the link. at the end of this, in the description, where you can watch what I'm calling Mr. Brazil and his Nutty Friends. And you've just heard enough about it to go, well, now I got to see it. I hope. So this has been Carol Butler. Thank you for watching today. And this is my new channel. So I'm not even having an extra. Let's exit, people. Let's exit.